What's up? So you're back. That's good. um, I'm glad you're liking it. I'm glad you made it this far. That means that you're learning. So that's good. Check the bell, the notification bell, so you can get these videos when they come up, because I am trying to get through this, this entire React thing, like in about a week. So everything should all be loaded within a week, sometimes 2 or 3 videos in a day. Actually, that's exactly what I'm doing, 3 or 4 videos in a day. All right, so let's keep moving along. So the one thing that we did in the last video is that we were able to add the ability to delete these items and remove from the screen. Now we also did mention that because this is using static data right here, it's not really an API, it's not an actual data that will persist. It's a data that's hard coded right there on the same file that we're working with. As soon as you refresh, it'll still come back, right? So we'll eventually touch that. We will eventually get there. But right now we're just working with what we have on the screen, just so you can so I can demonstrate how these actions will do or would affect your data on the API, so how to delete and things like that. So one thing that we have here is we have this reminder here, right? So technically that will be basically, you have a task and you want to be reminded, of when it is or whatever. So you want to be able to set or toggle these reminder notifications on and off, right? So we're going to basically change these from true to false. So how we're going to do that? So it's going to be kind of similar to the way we did on the delete, right? We still have to identify the one that we're going to be working with, so we don't accidentally hit the bell icon, which we have to add still, but we don't hit the notification icon to turn it off and turn all of them off. We only need to turn off the one that we are clicking on, and the way that we identify the one that we're clicking on is by referring to the ID itself, because it's a unique identifier to that particular task, right? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down to the element right here, and we're gonna start building it from the ground up, just like we did with the delete button. And we're gonna go to here and see that there's this notification active, notification, and notification off. I like these right here, so I'm going to use this notification right here. And remember when I said the last time, as long as you're using the same library, because they are all being exported from the same place, you can basically do that. And I'm going to use this one as well and put it in there as well. So now I am able to use these 2 icons. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create an object that I'm going to use to programmatically show the bell whether it's on or off. Okay, so what we are using to identify whether it's on or off is we're going to use the task reminder property, right? So if the task reminder is true, then show this guy, show that notification. But if it's not true, then show that guy. Okay, so let's see now so far if this works. So if we hit Control S, there you go, we're seeing that food shopping is off and the other ones are true. So if we check on the task right here, we can see that that's true, and that's true, 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 false, false, true, true. So we're good. All right. So far so good. Now what we need to do here also is we need to make these icons clickable. So we're gonna use an on-click event here, and it's gonna be very similar to it. So we're gonna basically do this and this, okay? Because we want to make sure that we have a clicking action on that right there. However, the one thing that is going to make this different from this one is that this one is calling the onDelete function. You don't want this to call the onDelete function, because if it did that, then it's just basically going to do this. It's going to delete it. It's going to execute this function right here, which it exists here, and it's being sent into the props over here. So we have to create a new function. So this one is probably going to be toggle, on toggle, because that's basically what it's going to do. It's going to toggle the icon here, right, or the property. And what property are we going to pass is basically we're going to pass the ID up to the function, because we want to use that ID to compare which one we're clicking on, right? So it's technically exactly like this. We are going to pass this ID to check which one we're clicking on, to compare it to, and then eventually fire up the content of the function, the executional part. So same thing here. Now obviously we have to pass it, otherwise nobody would know what the heck is going on in here. We're gonna hit S. We're gonna go to the next one, and we're gonna pass it in here, and we're going to catch it and then pass it right back up. All right, let's destruct this down into different lines, so that way it's easy to read. Okay, all right. Mind you guys, the reason why we are passing this and then coming over here and passing it again is because we're not employing other things that eventually I will show you. I'm just trying to keep it simple right now, but in a real application, you wouldn't have to pass this from one child to the next one all the way through the different levels until you get to the top, because there will be times where you will have a component that is broken down like 6 times into it, 6 levels deep. You don't want to have to pass everything like that. So there are different things that you can do to pass it completely over, or to transfer that application, that properties into a sibling from another component too, but we will get there. Right now we're doing it as simple as possible. Alright, so now that we basically caught it from the task and passing it right back out again, now we can basically get it from here. Okay, so we are in this task here. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure that I don't do it to the page title again. Alright, so now that we're there, we're going to now, and yeah, so now that we're here, we're going to basically make sure that we set up a function. Okay. Actually, before I set up the function, let's figure out what we're doing with this on toggle. We are using this on toggle inside the task here, right? This is what we created it for. So we're gonna create on toggle, and then the on toggle is going to basically call a function, and we're gonna call it toggle reminder for now. Toggle reminder. Now this doesn't exist, so that's why it's screaming at you, because it's been defined but not called, not used, or declared, or whatever. It hasn't been made. So I'm just gonna bring this down into, once I have like 2 or 3 different properties into a element or component, I like to break it down like this. Makes it easy to read. Alright, so now I can create this function here that I just created, and it's going to be, oops, what did I do? Sorry, trying to go too fast. Okay, here we go, and that's going to be an arrow component. Alright, cool. And now obviously I am going to absorb the ID in there, because I want to use it in order to to do what I gotta do. Alright, so first let's make sure that the console, the toggle reminder thing here, is actually being called, that is firing up. And let's say, you know what, I can probably delete this console log, I don't need it anymore. And then let's say I'm being toggled, and pass the ID as well, to make sure that I am that the ID is being called on that click event. So I'm gonna save it, and now I'm gonna come over here and inspect and go to console so I can check my messages, and let's click on this one. 4 is being toggled, 3 is being toggled, 1 is being toggled, 2 is being toggled. Cool. Alright, so it's working. I am able to catch the ID on that click, and I am able to catch, run this function right here. So those are the two main things that I wanted to do. Now I have to actually execute my code in there. So just like before, actually I don't need this anymore because we already tested it. So just like this, just like the delete task, right? Remember, again, state is unmutable. You cannot change it. You can only recreate it, okay, and then put it back where it is. So we're gonna create the set task again. We're gonna make a call to the set tasks again, and this time I'm gonna break it down a little like this because I am going to make it a little bit bigger. And we're gonna use a different function in this one. We don't want to use filter, okay? Filter was only so that I could look through the array and then filter out whichever ID is not equal to the ID that I clicked on, okay? So this is gonna be this one. This one is gonna be a map where it's basically going to run through the entire array, okay? So in the map, I am going to open that up as well because I'm going to create more. I have to keep creating my looking into my lesson plan here so I don't get ahead. All right, so we're going to create an object that we're going to work on, that we're going to use to manipulate the array items in it that I find. And then we're going to say that whenever that task ID equals to the ID that I clicked on, okay, then you're going to do this, but if it's not equal, then do that. All right, so we know what we don't want to do, right, which is not change it. So we're gonna do that. We're basically gonna say map through the tasks state, which is this guy right here, this entire state. Map through the task state, read it, and then we're gonna create this object right here, and then whenever the task ID, whenever the ID found in it is equal to my ID, toggle it. This is where the toggle is gonna go. Toggle it. If not, leave it the way it is. Just put it back the way it was, okay? So how we're just going to do this toggle it part. So this is where we're going to create a separate expression in here. And first thing we want to do is we want to use the spread operator to spread through my state, okay? I'm gonna show you what that looks like. And then that's gonna take another argument, which is going to be which prop I'm changing inside this spread, this state that I'm spreading, and it's going to be the reminder, and I'm going to set it up to the opposite, which is task reminder. So this right here is the opposite of, okay? So what is this thing right here? Well, let's look at it right here. If we come up here, yep, right here, and let's just use this right here so I can rewrite it, and I look at the spread of my state right here. Let's see what it does. Okay, let's click on it, and you can see what it does basically is it grabs the state, which is an array, and then it spreads it into different objects. Basically it's a list. It lists the objects out. So if you had an array that contained a bunch of strings in it, it would just show a string. It just basically lists out all the content inside it and into separate objects. Okay, and then inside the object you will see all the properties, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm spreading that operator, and then I am picking up the property that I want to change and changing it to the opposite of it. Okay, Now, why is this equals to the negative test reminder and not reminder opposite to reminder? Is because I am not making this reminder the negative. I am making the content, the value of the reminder, the negative of it. I am toggling the content of that prop, not the prop itself. Okay? What's the opposite of reminder? Nothing. What's the opposite of reminder? True. Reminder, false. So this would be a boolean that I get to play opposites with. Okay? And this opposite stuff would only work with boolean properties. It doesn't work with like 0, 1 or strings or anything like that. Okay, so now that it's working, I can hit enter here, refresh, and now let's see if it works. If I click on it, you can see that the bell now is negative. It's you know, the off one. This one, I'm gonna turn this one on, and it's working. Okay, so we're good so far. Now let's do some CSS work on this, because it looks great, but there isn't enough indication that it's actually, you know, looking good. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to come over here to the style CSS, and we're going to start adding some CSS classes in here. Some of them are going to be conditional, and some of them are going to be aesthetic only, but it's going to be basically teaching you how to work with the Sass folder, with the Sass file, and how to add things also on your JSX conditionally on a class by using a class expression and literals and things like that. All right, see you in the next one.